Hey son, everyone, and welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Eve Daniels, aka The Nerdy Nanny. I'm a self-published children's author, and I'm a Florida girl currently trying the whole grad school thing in Sweden. Today, I wanted to take you on a little bookshelf tour and walk you through my TBR. I see a lot of people on YouTube and Bookstagram who have these amazing shelves full of hardbacks, and if you are one of those, that's awesome. But I feel like sometimes there's a lot of pressure to go out and drop $16 to $20 on the latest hardback. And that's just not realistic for some of us. Reading, as amazing as it is, can be an expensive pastime, especially if you insist on purchasing all of your books. That's not to say I don't have books. I have a lot of books. Most of them purchased at secondhand stores and discard library bins, but my collection's been growing for years. Even though I've moved a few times, every time I've moved before, it's been to somewhere within driving distance, which means that I could take everything with me. That means the books that I bought in middle school are still on a shelf somewhere. It just so happens that that shelf is in Florida, and we're in Sweden. Buying new books here is a little tricky. Aside from books generally not being super cheap to begin with, there's the added fact that things in Sweden are a little bit more expensive than they are in, say, the US. On top of that, I'm looking for books written in English, which there is a market for here, but again, is a little more. As a grad student, I don't currently have the funds to drop money on new books whenever I feel like it. So, I usually end up buying my books from secondhand shops. This is going to be kind of a short one because my bookshelf tour, ta-da! And you've seen it now. Most of what you see behind me came from secondhand stores. The second reason why my bookshelf is so lonely looking is because I'm not buying books. Aside from the cost and finding titles in English that I'm interested in, we have a pretty extensive library in Sweden. The library system is set up so that everyone has access to good quality books, and there's a constant rotation going on. A town doesn't need to have a police department to be a town. It needs to have a church, it needs to have a bar, and it needs to have a library. That's pretty much it. The third reason is time. I'm a grad student, which I will be saying over and over again ad nauseum. Because I am. And being a grad student dictates how I spend most of my time. So I have a TBR, but it's not what's on these shelves.
I'm doing a lot of reading for grad school, and some of that is more complicated than others. Two of the articles that I've had to read recently are this one on DNA methylation research methods, which is of particular interest to me because I plan on specializing in epigenetics. The other is an article on control systems for immunocytochemistry, including recent changes to methodology, which I had to read as part of an assignment. The one fiction book I have on my TBR that I plan on enjoying is a e-download. I have it on the Kindle app on my phone, and it is my AuthorTube pick for the month. I've just started The Final Harvest by Barbara Howard, but so far, I'm digging it. And then I do have one book that I'm actually reading in physical form. It is Fem befriade flygarna, and it is a children's book written in Swedish. In order to improve my language competency, I do need to practice reading, but obviously my school assignments are not a good choice to try reading in Swedish, so kids' books it is.
This is most of what I'm reading these days. Study reports, theses, textbooks. Because when I moved, I couldn't take most of my books with me, they're still in Florida, but I do have a few that I've managed to find, again, at secondhand stores here in Sweden. Finding English-speaking books at a secondhand shop in a country where English is not the predominant language isn't the easiest, so when the weather's nice, I do tend to pop by once every couple of weeks and see what's new. I have the obligatory stack of Patricia Cornwell, starting with Book of the Dead, Dust, Red Mist, Body of Evidence. Of course, you can't go without Body of Evidence. And then Isle of Dogs was a bit of a misnomer and completely unrelated to the rest of them, but it was interesting. I also have a collection of rather interesting looking old academia books and beat up classics. These are usually a dime a dozen at secondhand stores and sometimes are literally a dime. I have a very old copy of the classic Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I have I Am a Stranger, Gulliver's Travels, Six Plays by William Shakespeare, and Of Mice and Men. Not because I have any particular affinity to those authors or works, but because they were in English. Most of these I managed to find here with a couple of exceptions. It's mostly sci-fi, fantasy, and the occasional mystery, but these two I brought with me. These are two of my absolute favorites. Good Omens. The Netflix series is awesome, of course, because David Tennant's in it, but the book's better. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves, the book's almost always better. Unfortunately, I only have one of the Odd Thomas series here with me, and that is Brother Odd. That's because I hadn't finished reading it when I got on the plane 2 years ago, so it came with, and if I could find the rest of the series here in English, I'd have it. I will go back and reread these about 1,000,000 times. And yes, I am wearing my Mr. Rogers cardigan again. You will probably see me wearing this in most videos. I would just get used to it now. And the reason is because it's comfy and it's soft and I like it. So, welcome to the era of the cardigan.